hard to see, but there's a elk right over there. I'm just passing through. I'm out here testing out the iGeek walking stick. I'm going to give the iGeek walking stick a real torture test today. Going in really steep and rocky terrain. There you can see a female elk right there. Bull was around here making a bunch of noise. I'll move on. I don't want the bull to think I'm trying to steal his girlfriend. I'm out hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains trying out the iGeek carbon fiber trekking poles. A pair of them comes in a nice carrying case with a lot of attachments for under 50 bucks. And I'm recording today's video with the Kuow action camera with the external lavalier mic. It's really, and I'm using a chest harness, so it's really a nice setup also for doing talks like this while you're out hiking. You know, I love the chest harness. It's a Smile Power. It's super cheap. I mean, it's just one of the accessories that comes in a bunch of accessories for like 10 bucks. So with that and the Kuow action camera with the external mic, really makes a nice little package for doing recordings while you're out hiking, walking, biking, whatever. And so we're going to look at the iGeek walking poles today. Fit and finish is actually pretty impressive for a product that's under 50 bucks for the pair. It's got a nice comfortable cork handle, a nice felt-lined wrist strap that's adjustable, rubber top here. It comes with a bunch of different attachments for the end of the pole. My default position is to use the carbon steel point with the, I guess, which is the mud attachment on all the time. And just like the more expensive Leike poles, it has a similar attachment and it snaps in place. And really fit, finish, overall workmanship on the locking nuts and things like that are pretty impressive, especially this price range where similar poles usually go for around $150 or so. Prices, there's getting to be more competition in this price range now, but this is really a nice pole. I've been using the Leike for a long time, lightweight aluminum poles, and this is really carbon fiber is really remarkably stiff and appears to be quite strong. The locking mechanism actually is a little easier to operate. And I like the knobs a little better on my Leikes. The only thing is the Leikes have a metal washer on this tab right here. And I guess we'll see over time whether that makes a difference or not. But right now, this is an area where, you know, if something were to break, that might be it. If that breaks, you're out of luck. But really the workmanship and everything right now looks pretty good. So I'll use them for a long-term test and do some testing in some harsher environments. Today's trail is pretty smooth and level. We'll do some hiking on really steep, loose rock trails and bushwhacking and really more like manways. But you can see I really like the fit, and the storage position is really nice to hold it like this if you're just walking with your poles. There's a number of times when you're doing certain activities, especially going up really steep slopes, where you want to stow your poles and maybe hold them like this or put them in your backpack. Or you want to use them like this, one in each hand, to help get up a really steep, loose slope. So we'll give them a try. But so far, pretty impressed. It's a lot easier going up a steep slope than it is going down. Okay, today we're finishing up our test of the IE Geek carbon fiber hiking / trekking poles, a pair of poles that sell for under $50 on Amazon, provided to me by the people at IE Geek to test out. I've been testing them out for a couple of weeks on four good hikes. One in particular was a bushwhack up the side of a steep mountain to catch a ridge line and try and connect over to another trail, and so I really gave them a pretty good torture test, and I've really been pretty impressed with them. Obviously they're extremely light. In their stowed position, they're the same size basically as your typical Leakey pole. This is an aluminum pole that I've used for years. It's considerably heavier than the IE Geek pole. Adjustable to 135 centimeters, which is about 53 inches. I'm almost 6'2", and I don't use them that high, so this is really good for a tall person. The way to set these is I like the locking screws. I actually like the nuts better than on the Leakey pole. You want to get them tight enough to where you just have to exert a fair amount of force to close them off, and not to where to where it's really too hard. And then of course, like any pole, when you use it for a number of miles or a number of times, it'll loosen up a little bit, and you just make some adjustments to make it tight. But generally the fit, finish, the strength of it has been real impressive, and it's held up really well to some rough hikes that if you watch the rest of the video, you'll see me giving some examples of it. And I generally don't hike with two poles. I hike with one and keep the other one in my backpack, mainly because most of the trails I'm on are pretty tight and pretty rough, and so I'm not in a position where I can really do some Nordic type hiking or something like that, but I always have the other one with me in case I need it or as a backup. The other thing I mentioned of this is it's got a foam grip down here that you can use, and actually if you get into a really steep loose slope, you can use this like a couple of ice picks to work yourself up a steep slope. It also comes with attachments for the snow, and two different kinds of rubber attachments that are real nice. I probably won't use them too much, but if you ever use them on roads or just for walking, as a walking stick or something like that, they come in real handy. And I mostly always use the what they call the mud and sand attachment, especially up here in the Great Smoky Mountains, where the soil and the leaf litter and everything is usually pretty thick. If you're off, especially if you're off trail, you can easily sink going up a slope. You can easily sink 6, 8, 10 inches deep before you hit something solid, and so this kind of helps you to get a little more traction. Now the only thing is the Leakey. Here's the Leakey that I've been using, and I know I'll probably take some grief about whether I'm pronouncing Leakey or not, but this one's been used for a couple of years, and their locking mechanism, you can see some wear and tear on it, but it's still working. It's got this metal washer on it, and these don't. I don't know if that'll make a difference over long term, but no matter what kind of pole that you use, I recommend carrying a piece of 2 or 3 feet piece of aluminum tape. You can even get that sticky aluminum radiator tape. It weighs not even an ounce to carry even 3 or 4 feet of it. And then if you ever have a problem with the locking mechanism, you can just wrap this tape around the upper and lower ends of the joint, and I can tell you that thing is not going anywhere. This is a pole that I got years ago, a cheap pole from Dick's Sporting Goods. It's one of those ones with the internal locking where you twist and lock it. Those things never last, and it's failed me on the trail years ago, and I've been using it around the house basically for a working, a working stick. And I put that tape around it, oh God, years ago, and it's never moved and never will move. So in an emergency, I would recommend always carrying a piece of tape like this for whatever reason. it'll solve you a lot of problems with trekking sticks. But again, to sum up, watch the rest of the video, and you'll see me talk a little bit more about it and try it out. I always use a walking stick when I'm hiking, just for a number of reasons, and not the least of which is to make it easier going up and down the hill on my knees, and just less chance of slipping and falling. But you got to be careful, and you'll see some examples in my where I give you some advice about hiking with the sticks. So yeah, take a look at the rest of the video, and I've had a lot of fun with this pole. It's something I'll use a lot. I just love the lightness and the strengthness of it. So we'll go out and have some fun with it. One of the reasons I always keep the mud attachment on, especially in the Smoky Mountains when you're bushwhacking or using old logging roads, is that the soil in the leaf litter is typically 4 to 6, maybe 8 inches deep sometimes, especially in steep slopes. So it stops your pole from going all the way down and provides some support. The other thing that's nice is when you come up a little steep slope like that, instead of inchworm, instead of redoing your whole pole, you can just kind of use this secondary lower handle and go up a steeper slope for just a few minutes, and then just switch right back to the other handle. It's all bushwhacking from here. And again, it's nice to have an option to switch from normal height to just 6 or 8 inches lower when you're going up a steep rocky slope. Going up in the rocks, it's not so much an issue of support, it's just a matter of steadying and taking a little bit of load off your knees. These kind of trails, you have to, especially coming back down, you got to pay attention to every place you put your foot. Actually, I like this a lot. I find myself using this secondary handhold more than the front one. Going up a steep rocky slope like this. This one's about 35 degrees or so. We'll be up to 40, 50, and then ultimately 60 before this hike is over. And as you go up in slope, your walking stick goes down in height. On rough trails like these, you got to make sure you put your every footstep in the right place. And a walking stick is good to stabilize, but you don't want to generally avoid the situation where you're putting all your weight of support on the walking stick, because then you got better to use the muscles in your legs as much as possible. To me, it just helps me be a little steadier and takes a little bit of pressure off the knees on all the downhills. A walking stick might not help you if you step on a slick rock or a slick root. You gotta watch where you're going and put your foot exactly where you want to put it. Now, one thing when you use the trekking pole for the first couple of times, you might have to adjust the locking nuts and a couple of times till you get it right. It's just natural as it breaks in, but so far, pretty impressive. I don't like this spot right here because this is bare trouble. Nice little mushroom colony there. Okay, this is where it gets deep now. And it's rained recently, so it's slippery. When you're starting to approach this kind of steepness, you want to bend over and start getting into a three-point stance. And going up is a lot easier than going down. What's cool now, when you get in this steep, we're talking 50 degrees or so. You gotta make it's slippery and thick. So you want to lower your walking sticks down as low as you need. Just use it to kind of help you. If you drop anything up here, forget about it.